Alrighty, good afternoon. Hope everyone had their lunch and have some energy, right? Because we're gonna dive into some technical stuff, a lot of coding, and hopefully something that you can benefit from your end after this session, right? But beforehand, before I get started, is that okay if I take a picture, a selfie with you guys? Because I love to share on socials, and I would be happy if I could share this huge, amazing audience. Cool? Yeah. Perfect, thank you. I appreciate you guys. So if you can give me a thumbs up or whatever you want to do. 3, 2, 1. Again. 3, 2, 1. Perfect, thank you guys. I appreciate you. Your turn? No. Perfect. Let me take a picture like this, sorry. Perfect. Alrighty, let's get seated and get started. Good afternoon, my name is Conjure. Today, I'll be holding a session on build your own coding AI agent with Azure AI Foundry, right? So welcome to the Global AI Bootcamp 2025. I just wonder who has attended the same Global AI Bootcamp last year, 2024 here. Okay, we have a lot of new faces. Perfect. Going forward, before anything, disclaimer for myself, right? The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this presentation are solely my own and do not represent those of EPAM Systems or any of my clients. All project details, technical approaches, and the tech stack discussed are based on my personal and professional knowledge and are on my independent ideas. We got this part, right? So everything is my personal and professional knowledge and ideas. Nothing is dependent to any of my clients or my current employee. And sponsors. So, of course, we have sponsors, right? Microsoft and Central Logic. I would love to thank our sponsors to make this event happen for the space, for the goods, for the lunch, breakfast, everything. Thank you guys. We have Dennis over there from Central Logic. I want to thank you guys again for sponsoring this amazing event and making it happen. Coming to myself, about me. My name is Tom Turgood. I'm a lead DevOps engineer working currently at EPAM Systems as a consultant. I'm a multi-cloud DevOps guy. I'm not only working on Microsoft Azure, I work on other hyperscale clouds, as well as I'm more of a DevOps guy, so I make sure my devs are good, in good hands, so they can write their code and have a peace of mind. I'll handle the rest of it, right? I'm an AI fanboy. I like AI. I do a lot of side projects. Usually I do them, keep it myself and use it without knowing anyone more. But sometimes I make sure I publish them as well, so my team members or my friends can improve them and use them as well. So I have a huge repository that I make sure I share my projects. And I'm a community contributor, right? So I make public speaking, I make YouTube videos. You can find my socials over there. You can scan this barcode to connect me on LinkedIn. I try to be very active on LinkedIn, GitHub, as well as YouTube. I try to make one video a week on YouTube. So I would be happy if you guys can give me a follow if you're interested in cloud DevOps and AI stuff. Going forward. So today, our main tech stack is going to be under Azure AI Foundry. From the audience, I just wonder, how many of you guys had a chance to take a look at Azure AI Foundry or used it or heard about it? How many of you guys is completely new, don't know what that is? Perfect, sounds good. So Azure AI Foundry provides a unified platform for all of your AI needs in the Microsoft Azure cloud platform, right? So before Azure AI Foundry, Microsoft published OpenAI. They published other AI services separately in the Microsoft Azure cloud ecosystem. But when AI resources gets bigger, when they improve it a lot, what they decided to have is they wanted to get all the AI resources into a unified umbrella platform So if you're interested in AI stuff, you would just go to that single platform and do whatever you want to do with the AI in there. This is Microsoft Azure AI Foundry, right? As you can see in this announcement diagram, they are basically supporting Azure AI Foundry SDKs and other bunch of SDKs that are newly published. They're basically utilizing, you can utilize GitHub, you can find a lot of examples regarding this Azure AI Foundry on the GitHub. I'll share those sources at the end, so make sure you stick around. You can work in the Visual Studio, as well as you can integrate with the Copilot Studio. And in the Azure AI Foundry ecosystem, at the bottom, at the top, you can see model catalog. How many of us are familiar with LLM models? Know at least what are those? At least heard about it, right? So when we talk about AI, we need LLM models, right? Large language models. So our devs, our AI developers, basically develop models that knows how to work with it as AI, right? Those are our models that Azure AI Foundry store in their model catalog. I'm not certain about the number, but I think it was around 1,500 models that currently that model catalog stores. So they have models from OpenAI, from Microsoft, from Meta, from OpenFace, whatever model you can think. Usually they have it in the model catalog. And underneath the model catalog, you have your foundational models, you have your open source models, task models, and industry models. So when the models are getting developed, they're developed based on some categories. They're not just randomly developed. They don't go as, hey, let's develop an AI model. So what? They need to determine what type of model, what type of capability this model should have, right? So we have our foundational models that are as a base model that you can use to build your own models, or we have open source models which are developed and open source, so you can utilize them for free. We have task models that are developed specifically for certain tasks, and we have industry models that are developed specific to certain industry categories. So it wouldn't make sense if I would use the same model for health industry or education industry or development industry, right? So we have different models that are developed for those different industries. Then in the Foundry as a service, we have OpenAI services, Azure AI Search, we have agent services, content safety, and goes on, right? So this is the high overview of what Azure AI Foundry. In the demo, I'll walk you guys through the UI, how to create it, how it looks, right? Going forward. So in the session, our main character is going to be our AI agent. How many of you guys heard about AI agents, but like this? 2025 will be your agentic AI era. And after that, it's going to be gone, it's going to be better something, it's going to be robotics. Hey, we just got to know ChatGPT 2 years ago, man. Like, I don't know how we're going to keep it up, right? So when I heard about agents like 6-7 months ago, I'd be like, I got to keep up with this somehow. Like, I only use ChatGPT, and they got to the agents who can basically, I don't know if I call them who, if they're a person, right? Who can basically do whatever I can do. Then next year they're telling me, you're out of the scope, man. Robots will come in place in person. Do whatever you can do. Cool. Then I went into the place saying, okay, I'm going to be the one who's going to develop these stuff, so I'm not going to be out of scope, right? AI agents. So an AI agent is a software program that interacts with its environment, gathers data, takes it into its memory, learns the actions that you want it to act as, learns your environment, your files, or your specific needs, and you need to give it a plan and clear instructions to guide it through the path, so it can basically act based on that, right? So think AI agent as myself without any object into the visual side of things as a program. Before jumping into the demo, I usually have stories behind my projects, right? Because there should be a reason that needs to push me on the midnight so I can write the code and solve that problem. Otherwise, I should be sleeping. What is the story behind this is, I had a project where we had a huge code base that needs to be refactored because it was developed by tens of different developers without any coding standards. So when I was checking one script, okay, it's functional, fine, but it was not following the best practices. When I was checking the next one, it's functional, but when I compare them, they're using different functions, different outputs, different logics. So we came up with an idea of, okay, we need to refactor this as soon as possible to make our environment standard. As I'm a DevOps guy, I'm talking about Python, PowerShell, Azure YAML files, pipeline files, and Terraform if you guys are familiar with. But we're going to take Python as a code base today as our language, programming language, right? Then in my spare time, I developed this AI agent thinking about, what if I develop an AI agent that can learn my company coding standards and that can refactor whatever I wanted to refactor without me doing it? Because we have hundreds of scripts, hundreds of, like millions of, million lines of code, right? It's going to take us months, tens of developers to do it, where my AI agent can do it in a matter of seconds. Here. That's the moral behind this story. Okay? Any questions so far before we jump into the demo? Cool. How many of you guys are familiar with the Azure portal itself, the cloud portal? Okay. Thank you. So first, in order to start with this, what I want to do is I want to show you guys how to create these resources. Okay? So from the Azure portal itself, what you want to do is you want to create Azure AI Foundry Hub first. Okay, I have a bunch of projects here, but if you type Azure AI Foundry, if you click on create itself, oh, for sure. Is it better? Perfect. Thank you. So when you search Azure AI Foundry, you will see a create button here. When I click on it, I see two options. One of them is project, one of them is hub, right? So we need to create a hub first. You can think hub as the first layer that you need to create so you can have your different AI projects underneath. It's like if you're, sorry?
It's like workspace.
Exactly. It's like a workspace, or I was going to give, if you're Azure DevOps person, it's like an organization or a GitHub organization, so your projects can be underneath as a repository or something like that, right? So you create your hub. You basically click here, do all your configuration. I'm not going to do it. Then after you have your hub, which I have it here, you will have a create project option here, which you can create and you can click and create your project. After you create your project, what you will have, obviously a project, right? But Azure AI Foundry has a different UI other than the Azure portal itself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the Launch Studio, which will launch my Azure AI Foundry portal, my project itself. Is it good, or should I zoom in? I think, yeah, let me zoom in a bit. Good? Perfect. So the first look at this Azure AI Foundry is I can see my API key, which is a secret, and I can see other included capabilities like AI inference, OpenAI services, Azure AI services, right? And I can see all other endpoints if I want to use with the SDK. But as we are going to pay attention to the agents today, I want you to take a look on the left panel. Here, agents. If you attended the previous session here, which Alex did a presentations on the agents, I am going to do something different, but still with the agents, right? So agents are recently published in a public preview mode. I think it's been like 2-3 weeks. It's very fresh. As it is in preview, please do not use it in production. Even though you want to use it in production, it's not going to work the best, so you can give it a try. In order to create the agent, I want to see how many of you guys are familiar with programming. Like how many? Okay, so we have that. So I'm gonna directly go with the SDK. Okay, but from the portal, if you wanted to create an agent, first you need to deploy a model that you can work with the agent. And I want you to make sure that you cannot use every model for your agents. Agents are supported by certain models, right? So you can go through Microsoft documentation, and they have a supported models that you can use for your agents. But for instance, I deployed my model, which is GPT-4o mini model. The reason I'm using mini is a bit faster because it's a mini one, right? And I called it GPT-4o mini coding agent. This is my model that I'm going to create my agents upon. If I click on my agents, once I click on the new agent, what's going to happen is it's going to create me a new agent here. I'm going to zoom out a bit, just like this, right? So here, what we can see here is first agent ID. Each agent has their own unique IDs when you create them. You have your agent name, which you can basically change, con agent. And you have your deployment, which you can choose. In this case, my only deployment is the one that I showed you before. Then you have your instructions, which you need to give your agent an instruction. As you can see here, it says, give your agent clear directions on what to do and how to do it. As this is a programmatic way to interact with the agent, like agent needs some instructions. For now, they don't know how to act, what to act on for now. So you gotta tell them, hey, you are this, you are specialized in this, and I want you to work on this. This is our instructions page. When I scroll down here, I can see knowledge and actions. These two sections are very new with the agents that are tool capabilities of the agents. The knowledge itself is basically gives agents access to the data sources for it to be used, right? So it's a knowledge base for your agent. When I click on edit, I can see 3 options for now. One of them is file, upload local files, which you can upload your local files and create a vector store so your agent can work with your file. The second one is Azure AI search, that you can create this resource and use it, which is a bit expensive, just so you know. And you have your grounding with Bing search, which I didn't have that much luck. As you can see, it's not compatible with my subscription. So I mentioned this to Alex as well. He mentioned it in his session. He experienced this one. He didn't like it that much, not my words, right? The reason I couldn't use it, just so you know, if you have sponsorship funds on your Azure subscription, this resource is not compatible. You gotta use pay-as-you-go, which means you gotta pay out of your pocket yourself, and need to create this resource beforehand and use it there, right? So today, what we're gonna use as a knowledge base is the local files, right? We're gonna upload our local files, and we're gonna work on that. But before that, lastly, I wanna mention on the actions. We have an action setting on the agent telling what is the capability of this agent. What can it do, right? So if I click on edit, I can see a couple of things. The code interpreter, right? This code interpreter can read and interpret information from your code base that you can give, and it can basically generate code based on it. right? It's like a GitHub Copilot if you're familiar with it. You can create your own GitHub Copilot with this type of stuff. Then you have your custom function that you can create. You have your OpenAI specified tools, and you have your Azure functions if you love serverless architectures and applications. And you can go with the documentation samples if you're interested in those, but I'm not going to touch the actions today. We're going to go with the knowledge base, and we're going to make agent work, right? Then you have your model settings. How many of you guys are familiar with the model settings like temperature or top speed? Just a few, right? So let me click on I if you see anything. So you can see the temperature controls the randomness, right? We always say, this AI hallucinates, man. Like, I say A, it says B. That's the reason your temperature is probably very high, and AI is not well trained, or you didn't give it a good prompts and instructions, so it cannot find the information and just hallucinates, right? So what I want to have is always have the temperature in the middle. I don't want to have it 0, so it could think, right? So I always take it to 0.5 as well as the top P. These are parallel that needs to be working with. If we understand what are the agent settings, let's get started by creating the agents. Let me delete my agents first, these ones. So I will jump into my code base here. So I have this repository that I will share the link at the end. You guys can copy, clone it, and you create your own agent. But first of all, I have an agent folder here where I have 2 folders. I've done this agent. I created 2 agents, one for Python, one for Java, but I'll go with the Python today. Java is the same thing, right? So when I go into the Python folder, I have one Python coding agent setup.py. So I know this project's connection string is very sensitive, but don't worry, I'll show you my project after this presentation so you can have it for now. In this Python code, as a high overview, what I'm doing is I am basically setting and creating an agent. Yes, please. Oh, it's a zoom in? Okay. Good? Perfect. So in this Python code, what I'm doing here is basically I am setting up an agent with uploading the standard instructions files first, right? What it means is I showed you guys the instructions that we need to give to the agent, right? With the SDK, you can basically hard code your instructions in this file, but if it is too long, I don't like it, and I want my instructions to be dynamic a bit. So what I have done is I created a text file called agentinstruction.txt, which goes as so this is instructions for my agent saying you're a coding AI agent specifically designed to understand and enforce company-specified coding standards for Python. Your primary responsibility is to assist the development team in production high-quality, standardized, and maintainable code. You are a virtual mentor and collaborator, ensuring that all Python scripts adhere to the company's best practices, code standards files in your knowledge base, while educating the team about these standards. And it goes with, if you get a Python code, make sure you refactor it, blah, blah, blah. So I give very comprehensive instructions so my agent know what to do at what point, what its responsibility, how should it react, right? Everything is there. So then, once we upload the standard instruction file, we basically need to create a vector store so our agent can search from the file that we uploaded and find the information, right? Then we create the vector store here. Then what we need to do is we need to create a file search tool so our agent can, again, search from the file. Then we load the agent instructions to the agent from the file, agent instruction file. Then lastly, we create the agent, and I print the agent ID as well as the vector store ID for further use, right? So what I'm going to do is I have variables here, so I make sure everything's good. I give my model deployment name. We need it for the agent. This is going to be my agent name, Python coding agent. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Python Bootcamp coding agent. And this is my standard file path, which is the instructions. So here, I forgot to mention about this. In the agent itself, what we're doing here is, you can see that, oops. Yep. So here, we basically upload the standard instruction file, which is my Python company coding standards, right? Which is under the instructions, and you can see this is my Python coding standards. Please don't blame me if this is not the perfect way. You might have different standards, different best practices, but what I have done is I wrote a quick Python coding standards instruction file saying formatting rules should be this, an example is this, naming conventions should be like this, an example goes on till the end, and at the end I have an example script that aligns with these standards. So my agent it has an instructions on what to do, and it knows these standards I made, my company standards, as a knowledge base, so it can work with these knowledge base. What I'm going to do is I am going to set up my agent by running the script, but beforehand, I want you guys to see we only have this random agent that we have for now. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this script, which will take 30 seconds to spin up the agent. So you can see that the I think I made a typo here somewhere here. Meeting 8. Oh, yep, you're right. So let's do it again. So you can see that we uploaded the standards file as a knowledge base. We created the vector store to add it in the knowledge base. Then we created the agent, and at the end, we print the agent ID with the vector store ID. Right now, let's go to the Azure portal and check our agent here. If I refresh here, what I see is, I see my new agent created. And when I click on it, actually, I can see the name, the deployment, and the instructions that we had in the .txt file, right? This is a huge instructions that we have. And you have your knowledge base attached as a vector store. Here, if I click on manage, I can see this is the Python standard instruction Python file that we had as a knowledge base in the repository. Now, my agent knows what is my coding standards in terms of Python in my company, right? So going further, if you want to go onto UI, you can go to the playgrounds. Azure AI Foundry has a bunch of playgrounds, speech, agents, real-time, image, you can play around. But for the agents, you go with the agents playground and you basically play with it here. But I'll go with the SDK for the sake of the time. What I'm going to do is I have another file here, chat with agent, right? So this file is basically creating a thread with my agent for me to chat with it. What I need to do is first, I need to give my agent ID here. And I have a message content here, which you want to ask your agent. Here, what I want to ask to my agent is, what is our Python coding standards, right? So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to run this. Let's do this. Python 3 agents chat. So now, what I'm expecting is, I'm asking a question to my agent that my agent needs to give me a response with the coding standard that it knows. And there you go. I know it's not very pretty, you can make it prettier, but in response, you can see that our Python coding standards encompass several key areas to ensure code quality and maintainability. Here are the primary guidelines outlined, formatting rules, and it has other rules that we gave as a knowledge base, right? Even further, I have a thread ID here, which I copy, and if I go to the portal itself, if I go to the agents and threads, this is the thread that I had, which you can see my message from the user and the response from the agent itself from the UI, right? So with the SDK, you can connect with your agent and chat with it. Furthermore, what I want to do is, for example, our main topic is refactoring, right? I have a broken script that I want to refactor. Here in the broken scripts folder, I have a very simple file which doesn't align with my coding standards in my company, that I put it here for my agent. Now what I'm going to do, I have another file called chat with agent refactor. Here what I'm going to do is I am going to what we have done is I need to set up another agent because I lost my vector ID. I'm gonna delete this one, right? Let it create the agent. So here I take my agent ID, put it here, my vector store ID, put it here. And I give my script file path, which is my non-refactored script, and I want to give an output file path, which I want agent to create the new refactored file in, and I have the rest of my script that does all the operations, right? And I have a message content here, which says I haven't attached a Python script, give the script path, please refactor the script according to our own company coding standards. Use the Python coding standards stored in the knowledge base file search tool. Make sure to fix any non-standard practices and improve readability, right? So what I'll do is I am going to run this. Run the script. So what agent will do is it's going to take my broken script, analyze it, compares with the knowledge base company standards, and it is going to basically refactor it to have the company standard script. I run it, so it created another thread. Give me the thread ID. You can see it in the UI. What's going to happen next? It's analyzing right now. It's uploaded the script file, give the file ID. It's created the message, gave me the message ID. Still working on it. Then you will see a response from my agent saying, here is the refactored version of your script according to the company's Python coding standards. It basically fixed my script based on the company standards, right? And it basically gave me the modifications that are made, and it says I save this file into this path which I can go and check it out here, right? This is our new refactored code automatically in a matter of minutes with the agent itself. This is how I did what I was thinking. So imagine you implement this in your production and you have hundreds of scripts. You would refactor in a day instead of 2-3 months, which we are currently planning with my team, right? So this is the project itself normally. But as a DevOps guy, I always try to automate stuff where it would take me a month to automate the stuff, where it would normally take an hour to do it manually, right? This is the DevOps itself. So you need to spend a bunch of time to automate where you can only do it in an hour. What I have done is, I'm not going to clear my terminal because I need those. In the Azure DevOps, let me ask you this. How many of you guys are familiar with Azure DevOps or GitHub environments? Or let me ask you even further, like, how many of you guys are IT guys here, IT persons? Okay, so we all have some sort of tasks, right? Like it's even in Jira or your ITSM tool, whatever you're using, you get to assign a task that you need to work on that sprint or on that day or on that week, right? What I have done is, what if I get assigned a task here, and if I only give this task to my agent, would it be possible my agent would do it for me instead of me touching anything, right? So I have a task that I created, very simple task actually. Write a Python script to calculate the factorial of a number, and it has a description that my manager put in place. What I'm gonna do is I will only get this number, task number. So this is more of an Azure DevOps API stuff, but in my script, I have another DevOps task script here, which I will give my work ID here, and I will give my agent ID along with the vector store. So when running this script, what's going to happen is my agent will go to the Azure DevOps or your ITSM tool, fetches your task details, connect to the agent, understand the details of your tasks, understand the need, and ask. Then it's going to create your script or your bug fix, whatever it is. Then it's going to open an automatic pull request to the main branch, so you can review it without touching anything. And the good thing, this is going to happen in a minute. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I am going to run this. Run the script. What I want you guys to pay attention first is I shouldn't have any pull request open. Oh, actually I do. My bad, I lied. Let me abandon these. And let me delete my branches, right? My agent will create a branch for itself, does all the work, and create the pull request from its own branch to the main branch. So right now you can see I only have main and AI coding agent, and I don't have any pull request. What's going to happen is I run this script. It basically retrieves the work item details. It's generating the script based on the work item details, created a thread with the agent, sent the task to the agent, so my agent would understand it first. Then it created the script. It's even faster when I'm talking, right? It just goes. So what happened is it understood, created the script, created the branch, and opened the pull request. When I scroll to the side, what I see first is there's a new branch happened with the work item number, and when I go to the pull request, there's a new pull request that is opened from the feature branch to the main with the, oh my bad, I forgot to change the file extension. I was doing it for Java, so I forgot to change it, but it's supposed to be Python, but the script itself is Python, right? So we have the Python script that is automatically created and open the pull request into the main itself. What an amazing, like, I'm amazed actually, right? Because agents, I can think that if I go to my slide and that tells me, will we be replaced by the AI agents? I want to hear the thoughts. I take it as a yes then, right? Because this tells me if companies take this further, if they improve it, they would do some scripting, they would write your applications from scratch in a matter of minutes, where our human beings are basically spends hundreds of hours, days, and weeks to do it, right? So my guess, no. We always are needed in this process, but what I think is AI will replace the people who are not aligned and don't want to work with the AI itself. The sources that I used, I highly recommend you guys to take a picture of this, which I followed these resources. Microsoft AI team did an amazing job. They even had an AI Agents for Beginners course on GitHub, which they have 10 lessons that you can go through, and I would definitely say you would be confident afterwards of this course. And this is my repository. Please take a picture if you want to clone and build your own AI agent. I did a README file. Feel free to contribute to it. It's public, right? So you can open a pull request saying, hey, Khan, this can be improved, this can be done. I'm always open to it. And thank you so much. That was all from my side. All right, any questions that we have? Or any concerns, any comments, recommendations? Yes, please.
Thank you.
No worries.
Could you please tell more about how you use the vector database? Why do you need it?
So I didn't use the vector database actually. In the AI agent in the Azure Foundry, in order to create in order to upload your local files, you need to create a vector store with a click of a button. It's not a real. I don't think what happens behind the backbone, but we basically don't do anything separate, right? If I would go into the UI itself, into the playground here. If it opens, I'll show you. Here, so in knowledge, when I click on files, oh my bad, yeah, my bad. So in the knowledge, if I click on add and upload the local files, you will see it asks for a vector store, right? I do have, you can select the existing one or create a new vector store. Not sure what's happening behind the backbone. As I said, it probably you create some vector database, so it would upload your files and do the vector research, parallel vector research, in order to analyze your files. And you can also see these are the supported file types, so not everything is supported in that sense. And one other thing, I was surprised. You can see .sh, right? This is a bash script extension. Which is not supported. I don't know why, but when I was using the SDK, when I was trying the .sh files, it was throwing me errors. This is not supported where it says it's supported. So be cautious about that. Yes?
The reason why I asked about vector store is you showed an example with the Python script that takes the coding standards, right?
Correct.
And some improper Python file.
Correct.
Which is converted to the proper one according to the coding standards.
Correct.
But you could do that with an API call to some LLM, right? Like GPT with your example. So you can just create a prompt with these coding standards and the wrong Python file.
That's right.
And send it out. But you're using this.
I see what you mean. Yes, I see what you mean. I got it more clear. So yes, you can even further. You give that coding standard into the instructions, right? But the instruction itself should be clear and short enough to not make LLM to hallucinate first. And the reason for the knowledge base is to give and load a lot of big data so your agent wouldn't be overloaded but know everything, right? And normally before the agents, what we would do with the RAG solutions is we would basically give whatever we want with the instructions, so our model would know how to react. But with the knowledge base, you would give a bunch of other data at the same time, which will work with the vector search, which is avoiding the hallucinating of the LLM model. Would that be an answer that you're looking for? Perfect, thank you. Yes, please. Okay, we're gonna start from there.
Thanks for the wonderful presentation.
No worries, thank you.
So, I believe all the popular ID supports reader config, ESLint, Retier. So that basically take care of this config stuff, whatever the standard instructions you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So why somebody will use this agent if they can just directly add editor config or any configurations in IDE,
Mm-hmm.
which will instantly, along with if we just run a command without calling AI agent, which incurs additional cost. can do the same thing, I would believe.
Hmm.
So why
So
somebody will use the AI agent beyond this editor configs?
I see. So why would why would someone use this agent where if there are any tools, right? So for example, the last thing that I showed you where we can basically take the work item, make the agent work and upload it back, right? To automate stuff actually. There might be some, like, for example, pre-commits, right? Like in your workflows, you would have pre-commits, which are basically checking the syntax and everything, which are making sure everything is good, right? So you can, with the agent, you can automate it better. But the thing is, agents are using LLM models, which are basically trained on a very high data, very like a lot of data, and they're very advanced, right? Maybe like if you're using GPT-04, it's more advanced than anyone in this room, right? So why wouldn't I use it?
Obviously, there is some trade-off cost.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah.
So the Python syntax you mentioned, if you mention editor config, there is a extension that supports your PyCharm or VS Code, everything. There is editor config, there is PyLink or just link, along with Prettier for Python. You can mention all those instructions, whatever your independent, your space, your
Yep.
the style of coding, everything you can mention.
Exactly.
You can just run a command link and it will reformat your entire code base, not only that file.
Okay. Then would
we
it?
don't verify the logic. It cannot optimize some of your logic. Maybe you have nested if fails for maybe 15. It cannot suggest based on that.
Mhm.
But at least it will give you okay.
Of course, there are linting tools that you can do. But would you be able to tell it, hey, I have this create an script?
No, that is.
That's where the agent comes playing,
Yeah,
right? So you would, instead of my instruction files, you would have your linting file there. You can tell your agent, hey, this is my linting file. Then your agent would know it as a knowledge base, then take it from further, right? You can. So the idea of the agent cannot function without tools attached to it, right? So it's a skill set that it needs. You can maybe attach those linting tools, some APIs, so your agent can function with those tools. Yep.
Thanks.
No problem. Yes.
I was saying that
Yep.
like IDEs and linking tools, it is for us humans to like basically dumb it down, right? But an AI agent wouldn't need any of those, right? Because it can have its own background. So that also
Yep.
answers the question.
Mm-hmm.
And also like all these companies, they're all talking about replacing engineer DevOps team.
Yeah.
So it's not only like one agent, like one model can have 10 different agents doing 10 different things. So that's also one reason why I think we should use agents.
Yep. Thank you. Yes, please.
So this agents, can we say that it's a smaller version of Copilot Studio embedded here in AI Foundry, and we can use it with our own custom code?
Yes. Yes.
Something like that.
Yes. Yes. I'm also working on Copilot very closely. I do workshops on that. I would say if you didn't give it a try, please give it a try. It's a managed type of these agents that you have in your Copilot. This is more custom, right? But you can customize your GitHub Copilot as well. But you can also, if you don't prefer it, it might be a pricey because you need to buy it for your team. You gotta pay for seats. You can create something like this and go with this. This is not very expensive. This is pretty cheap, I think.
About the cost part, how much will you spend with Azure and everything just to achieve this task?
How long would it like? Did it take
Much,
a price?
yeah.
To be honest, I don't know. But let me check. I cannot show it right now. I don't know, but not much. Not much. Please.
Thank you, Tom, for the presentation.
No problem.
Is there
Thank you.
any way to validate the response of the agent?
Yes.
And trade it?
Perfect. Thank you so much for asking that. Let me show you. Where's my cursor? Oh, there you go. So here, I think it was somewhere here. Oh, there you go. Evaluation, right? So you can make sure your agent is responding and you can evaluate that, right? From the evaluation side of things, you can create a new evaluation for your model, not for your agent, because we're using the model for the agent. So you can create the evaluations for your model, and you can give examples. Hey, if something like this asked to you, give an answer like this. If this is asked, give an answer like this. You can even put safe guardrails saying, hey, if something like this asked, do not answer. Right? So you can definitely do evaluations from the evaluation part of the portal, and you can give it a try. Perfect. Any other questions? I think we're over time. I appreciate you guys for coming and listening to me. Thank you so much. Have a great day.